Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Seventh Canto, Chapter 15, text number 35. Kamadibir Anavidam Prashantakila Vritti Yat Chitam Brahmasuka Sprishtam Naivotitishteta Karichit Kamadibir Anavidam Prashantakila Vritti Yat Chitam Brahma Sukha Sprishtam Naivotishteta Karichit Kamadibi by various lusty desires. Anavidam unaffected. Prashanta calm and peaceful. Akila Vritti in every respect or in all activities. Yat, that which. Chittam, consciousness. Brahmasukha Sprishtam, being situated on the transcendental platform in eternal bliss. Na, not. Eva, indeed. Utishteta, can come out. Kadichit, at any time. Translation: when one's consciousness is uncontaminated by material lusty desire, it becomes calm and peaceful in all activities. For one is situated in eternal blissful life. Once situated on that platform, one does not return to material activities. Can repeat, that's a nice one. When one's consciousness is uncontaminated by material lusty desire, it becomes calm and peaceful in all activities. For one is situated in eternal blissful life. Once situated on that platform, one does not return to materialistic activities. Right, something to hope for. And Lord Chaitanya is very liberal, so if we just don't, if we have desires, if we don't act on them, then we get credit. Because this, in desires are so much embedded in our mind and body, but if the intelligence is strong, then we can ignore them. This is the purport. Brahma Sukha Sprishtam is also described in Bhagavad-Gita 1854. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmana Sochati Nakangshati Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. Very famous verse. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In this situation, he begins transcendental activities or devotional service to the Lord. Generally, once elevated to the transcendental platform of Brahma Sukha, transcendental bliss, one never comes down. But if one does not engage in devotional service, there is a chance of his returning to the material platform. Arura krichena param padam tata, patant yado nadrita yushmad angraya. Bhagavatam 10.2.32. One may rise to the platform of Brahma Sukha, transcendental bliss, but even from that platform, one may fall down to the material platform if he does not engage himself in devotional service. Wow. Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksura Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yetam Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Eham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajadatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarane Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha Panchatatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Garim Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shigurundina Tarane. So, thank you for attending class. We know here in Vrindavan there's many other things you could be doing, but Prabhupada gave a lot of stress on attending the morning class. There's a lot of powerful statements here. Especially that we have to engage in devotional service. Otherwise, that's directed by the spiritual master. But if we just think, well, I'm Krishna conscious, you have to do some kind of service. Chanting is service, reading, associating with devotees, taking prasadam. We have to do it in a service mood. Otherwise, we don't last. We're trying to please Krishna, Guru and Krishna, or please the devotees. Because when we're trying to please the devotees, that's most pleasing to Guru. If we're doing the activities in a different mood, wrong motivations, to gain something, even if it's a subtle, then it's not service exactly, it's different. When I joined, they used to say all the time, if you're not chanting 16 rounds, then it's just work. That's if you're initiated. If you're not initiated, new people, whatever they do is very pleasing to the Lord. They just try to do a little bit. Famous story that in the early days in New York, very early days, and the room had just one little toilet room with a sink. And one day, one homeless guy came in, and he had a bunch of paper towels or toilet paper or something, and he went in the bathroom and put it on the shelf nicely. And devotees were going to send him out. These homeless guys in America, they're something like here. They're not clean, they smell, and, many of them. Prabhupada said, no, he's beginning his service. He somehow or other just had the feeling to do something for the devotees, And the devotees were not very many, they weren't very prominent, but somehow he understood. So this Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, that one quoted very often. When we get on that platform, then you want to do devotional service. You begin devotional service. Devotional service is, but Lord Chaitanya, he just gave us devotional service right off. Chant the holy name. No, you don't have to come to any other special condition first. Anybody, engage everybody, take prasadam. And Prabhupada took that up with, even more enthusiasm. He just welcomed anybody and everybody, and immediately would give them some service, whatever they knew how to do. Especially if the artist, many of the devotees came, they said they were artists. Probably, oh, can you paint this? And he'd give them some sketch, paint this. Jayananda Prabhu, who made so many devotees and is never forgotten, that was his technique. Many times he was alone at the temple because everybody went out for Harinam, and he was there cleaning or taking out the garbage or fixing the cars. And whoever came, in those days many people came, he'd just say, oh, can you help me? Oh, I just need you so much. Whatever little thing it was, just like Jayapataka Maharaj, the first time he went, and they told him, you go in the back there, we're getting ready for a festival. So he said he went in there and he thought this is the festival, but they were building the Rath Yatra cart. So Jayananda immediately greeted him and said, oh, can you help me? Like he's totally helpless without you. And he said, sure. He said, he said, can you hold this nail? And he pounded in. He said, wow, you're really good at holding. Can you pound him in yourself? And then he let him do that one time. And he said, okay, here's nail all this stuff together. That was his introduction. Just engage everybody in service, because that's what really gives us a connection. We get the reciprocation. But chanting is service, but the attitude has to be service. We're doing whatever we're doing for the pleasure of Krishna. So it's described here from the Bhagavatam that there's a chance of returning to material activities if we're not engaged with the service attitude. Prabhupada always, I looked up service attitude, I can't remember, 400 or 500 times he used those words, service attitude. So many letters. Just by your service attitude, you're going to make so much. I'm so pleased that you have this service attitude over and over again. That's the test of our chanting if we want to serve. That means our chanting is okay. So today is some anniversary days also of great devotees who showed us examples. And it's also Snana Yatra, because Rath Yatra is in 2 weeks. And anybody been to Puri for Snana Yatra? I've never been there. I heard it's the best darshan you can ever get of the deities. They put them up high somewhere. It's not so crowded like Rath Yatra. Everyone can really see them. So they bathe the deities publicly, and then they take rest. And they get supposedly sick or something, so they're feeding them fruit juice and things. But also in Puri, that's when they repaint them. They use all natural paint, so it gets worn out. Also they get black from all the smoke in the temple room. So during that 2 weeks, they repaint the deities and fix them up. I remember, it might have been the first year I was in the ISKCON, but, we got the letter from San Francisco that we were bathing the deity, but somebody left the window open, so Lord Jagannath got a cold, and we had to keep him in his room now for 2 weeks. It was very personal. And then he's in the room, and only a few people are with him. Lord Chaitanya couldn't tolerate going to the temple during that time to go and see the empty altar. Couldn't tolerate it. So he would go to Alalanath every day and see the deity there. And he was in so much ecstasy there. If you go there, you'll find a stone. There's a big stone that's flat slab in front of the deity, and the impression of Lord Chaitanya's body is melted into the stone because his ecstasy was so intense. And that's a very special temple. It's four-arm form, but he's worshipped as Krishna, So the actual form, that deity is representing a Leela where Krishna was hiding from the gopis, so he showed a four-arm form, and then they didn't recognize him. They just paid obeisances to the Narayan and said, "Did you see Krishna? And where did he go?" They weren't interested in Narayan at all. And he said, "Yeah, he's gone that way." So they went running off. But then Radharani came, and her desire to see Krishna was so intense that Krishna couldn't keep the disguise. It's Krishna again. That temple was renovated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. It had been run down, so he hired the workers and he had them working. And it said he was so anxious to get that temple renovated that he was rolling beedis for the workers so they wouldn't stop, to make their cigarettes. So they just keep working. So he got that temple renovated, and still a very popular place. So that's something about Snanyatra, and everybody becomes more and more anxious to see the Lord. And then the Ratha Yatra, of course, is when he comes out and there's no restriction. Who can see him, even touch him? Anyone who can fight their way up the ladder can actually touch Jagannath, even foreigners. So it's also the appearance, I think, or I don't know which, disappearance of Mukunda Datta. You've heard of him? Our Mukunda Dutt was here from Mayapur last week, I think. He's a famous singer. Mukunda Dutt was a famous kirtan singer, and Lord Chaitanya would dance when he sang. He's especially a mridanga player. He's always mentioned in the kirtans. And he was an intimate classmate of Lord Chaitanya when they were studying, and Lord Chaitanya would argue with him a lot, defeating him with logical arguments. And Lord Chaitanya did that with very intimate associates like Murari Gupta. He loved to defeat them. Although one time he let Murari Gupta defeat him. So he was quite instrumental in many things. It was him who introduced, when Pundarik Vijayanidhi came to Mayapur, nobody knew him. Lord Chaitanya was calling, "Pundarik, Pundarik," and nobody understood, what he's doing. And that he's thinking of Radharani's father. Of course, Pundarik Vijayanidhi was Radharani's father in the previous life, but he was a famous singer. Mukunda Dutt, in the Vraja Leela, he was also a famous singer. There were two brothers, Madhuvrata and I can't remember the other one. And they were famous singers. I think they were the reciters of the one book, really revealing so many intimate pastimes. So people keep the same kind of roles, So when he knew Pundarik, because he was from the same place, it's now Bengal. So he asked Gadadhar Pandit, would you like to meet a really, really advanced devotee? So of course Gadadhar said yes, because he's a devotee his whole life, close associate of Lord Chaitanya. He was just a young time. So he took him to this Pundarik, but Pundarik was not your ordinary Vaishnava. He was very, very rich. And he was living in great opulence with, marble tables and gold, and dressed really opulently with oiled up hair and fashion and crowns and jewelry everywhere, very exotic clothes and beautiful lamps and water vases and everything. So Gadadhar, in his mind, he was thinking, kind of the Vaishnava is this, because he was a very austere Brahmana, simple living, and that's what he was used to. So the mind is like that, because it's Leela, but so Mukunda could understand. So he recited a verse from the Bhagavatam. What's that verse? It's about saying, who could be more merciful than Krishna? Even Putana tried to kill him. He gave her, the position of a mother or something. And when Pundarik heard that verse, he just went mad. And he just started crying out, Krishna, Krishna, and he was rolling on the ground and ripping up his fancy clothes and knocking over his flower vases and getting all dirty, and it went on for hours and hours, just crying and falling unconscious for an hour or so, then getting up and crying and banging his head on the ground, and his hair got all dirty, everything got completely destroyed. And then Gadadhar thought, my God, this is a really great devotee. I made a big mistake here. So he thought the only way I can counteract this is to take initiation from Pundarik, and surrender to him and realize, So they went to Mahaprabhu, and he said, very good idea. So they found an auspicious day, and he took initiation. So he's a Diksha disciple of Pundarik Vijayanidhi, who is very, very special, and could go on and on about him. These are fascinating people, what great devotees. He couldn't tolerate to see people at the Ganga brushing their teeth in the Ganga and washing their hair and washing their clothes. He only went late at night. And he would never go actually in because he didn't want to touch his feet to Ganga. Some, very exalted. So Mukunda, his main pastime, which is the most fascinating, he had a habit of going to Mayavadi lectures, non-devotee lectures. And his brother was telling him, you shouldn't go. He said, no, I won't fall down, I won't get contaminated. He said, but you don't hear anything about Krishna, so why should you go? You just hear Brahman and, whatever words they use, and you never hear about Krishna, so why should you go there? And he was, just whatever. So then Lord Chaitanya, he got very angry at him. And he kicked him out of the assembly. He said, never come again. We don't want you around. You go listen to Mayavadis. So he went out, and all the devotees who loved him, they were crying and begging Lord Chaitanya, you have to let him come, he can't live without your darshan. He said, no, he's nonsense. So they kept crying and begging Nityananda, everybody. So finally he said, okay, tell him that I will meet him again after 10 million births. That's a long time, even if you're taking birth as an insect or something, 10 million. So they went out and they told him, Lord Chaitanya says you can meet him again after 10 million births. And he started dancing in ecstasy and said, oh, the Lord is so kind, he's not kicking me out, I can meet him again. And he didn't even think about the time factor. So when they came back and they asked, Lord Chaitanya said, what did he say, when you told him 10 million births? And they said, well, he was in ecstasy. He was so happy that he'd be able to meet you again. And Lord Chaitanya said, okay, tell him to come in. So he came in and he paid obeisance, and he said, I was only joking. And Lord Chaitanya is famous for joking, That's the first line of Sarvabhauma's song, He's Radharani also, always making her friends laugh. So that's the only real joke I ever read, Lord Chaitanya, kind of a serious joke, but this way Krishna joked with Rukmini, but so then things settled down. I don't know if he kept going to Mayavadi classes or not. But don't think you should go to Mayavadi classes. You want to hear about Krishna. And we want to talk about Krishna. So he was also, when Mahaprabhu decided to take sannyas, he was the first one that Lord Chaitanya went and told him, I'm going to go and take sannyas. He said, please stay for a little bit longer and keep up your Sankirtan movement here. So he did stay, I don't know how long. And then when he went to Katwa to take sannyas, Nityananda went with him, and Mukunda was another, he went with him. One or two others, I don't remember. Because he was telling everybody, one by one, I'm going to go and take sannyas. And it was very painful for all the residents of Navadvip, because sannyasi normally never comes back to his home. And Sachimata was hearing rumors, but she just didn't believe it. She just didn't want to believe it. So anyway, finally he left and he went and took sannyas at Katwa, another major event in our history. Very important in many ways. Can't get into it. We could if we have a few hours, but all the things that came about from that. Actually, the father of Srinivas Acharya was there, and he was an old man. He didn't have any children. And he just went mad when he saw Mahaprabhu's hair get cut like everyone else did, when he shaved up and changed his dress. And he was just started, all he did was Chaitanya, Chaitanya, and he changed his name to Chaitanya Das. So then he never had a child. He didn't expect to ever have one. They're very old. But then he got a voice from the sky that said, you will have a son. So he had Srinivas, who was spectacular. And all he talked about was Lord Chaitanya all the time. So Srinivas grew up with that. So he left home very young and became Srinivas Acharya. Comes out from that lila. So then they went to Puri, And Mukunda Dutt also went to Puri. I think he stayed in Puri. And who was his brother? Anybody know? Another Datta, Vasudev Dutt. So it's quite an important family. Vasudev Dutt came to Lord Chaitanya and said, I want everyone in the universe to go back to Godhead. And if you think they can't because they have bad karma, let me take all their karmic reactions and let them all, go back. So he's called sometimes the incarnation of Prahlad and someone else. Prahlad had that same mood that I don't want to go back to Godhead until everyone else goes back. That's Prabhupada's mood, Vaishnava mood, willing to stay and, keep trying to help people. Lord Chaitanya told Vasudev Dutt, you don't have to suffer, but just by this desire, everyone will be liberated. So we should think of that. So those are the people of this day. So back to the verse. It's short but very sweet. Sometimes one verse has so many things that are very obvious in it, and this is one of them. That bhakti means service. Love means service. Like this founder, or whatever he is, of this big temple down the road. When he went to America, ISKCON was already started. Prabhupada already made the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So he made the International Society for Divine Love, because that will naturally attract more people, because people think love means physical connections. Divine love means these physical connections are very wonderful, and you need to do it, you need to have them more and more and more. And that way you'll get to God. See? Prabhupada was very strict, Krishna consciousness. Allen Ginsberg said, I think you should call it God consciousness. Nobody knows who is Krishna. And Prabhupada said, no, Krishna consciousness. He wants us to know Krishna, the person. And because we can't develop a relationship with a non-person, right? Can't dress something unknowable, something. You can't make a garland, you can't talk to them, you can't do anything. So you can't do service to a thing. So people like that idea that God is just some unknown thing, some force in the universe, all the different ideas that people have. That's why people become atheists, because they hear all this crazy stuff, wrong ideas about God. So Prabhupada wanted everyone to know Hare Krishna, Krishna consciousness. One devotee wrote, he said, I'm going to make a restaurant and call it the Krishna restaurant. Prabhupada said, no, Hare Krishna. He wanted to spread that Maha Mantra, he was empowered. And so other people, they may gain more followers immediately in name only, but they don't change their lifestyle at all. But Prabhupada, he influenced people to completely change their life, especially his early followers. Many of, not all, like some people think, but many, they were unrestricted sense gratifiers. Rukmini Devi, the famous Rukmini, my god sister, she told me once, devotees, they're the biggest enjoyers. They want pleasure more than anybody. So That's why they become devotees. But before, we were anything that looked like it could give you pleasure, let's try it. No restrictions. So that was a good quality, because when Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna, they tried it. And they got the pleasure from it. Got the higher taste. Take prasadam, you got the higher taste. So then so many became devotees because they're seeking pleasure more than anyone else. They weren't seeking, they knew that money wasn't going to give them pleasure. Many had families that had enough money, and some were very rich. But so the highest pleasure is Krishna. And when you get that taste, then other things don't look very interesting. Intoxication, gambling, all these things that people might think is fun, has so many downsides. But Krishna consciousness and doing service for Krishna instead of your mind or your girlfriend or somebody, your boss, you can't get much pleasure. If you do really good work in your company, you might get some money, you might get a title, you might become a partner or something after 40 years. So you can eat, sleep, mate, and defend, but you don't have a life, you don't have any happiness unless we also take up Krishna consciousness. So that's why we're preaching anywhere and everywhere and trying to get people to just put Krishna in your life, then automatically you can forget about these other things after some time. Read Bhagavad-Gita, read Srimad Bhagavatam, get the news from the spiritual world, you become purified. So in Bombay, the Bombay Times, I think it was, they had a big signboard, hoarding, you call it. Said, "You are what you read." Read the Bombay Times. I said, who wants to be the Bombay Times? But you should read Bhagavad-Gita, because then you'll become like Arjuna. You'll want to hear more and more from Krishna. You should read Srimad Bhagavatam, because you get purified, you get relief from all the material attachments, material desires, which are, desire is everything. Prabhupada was asked, how do I become Krishna conscious? Prabhupada said, desire, that's all. You get, it's true, these people talk about this, what is it, the law of attraction or something. Just concentrate, I want this car. Get a picture of the one you want, and just think of it all the time, and eventually you'll get it. Think of the girl you want or the job you want. So there's something to that, but karma is always a factor. It doesn't work for everybody. You might get it 20 lifetimes from now, but it won't satisfy, it just be a material thing. But if you want Krishna, karma is not a factor. Krishna we can get by our effort. Material things, many people, two people make the exact same effort, one gets it, one doesn't. Sometimes nobody gets it. But they're making the same effort, they have the same so-called talents and the same so-called, educational qualifications and everything. But for bhakti, it doesn't matter what one's background is. If you just try it, if you just do it, and you want it, then we'll get it, anybody. So we are preaching to anyone and everyone. Chant Hare Krishna. Read the Bhagavad-Gita. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shiksha. Very simple, that's what Lord Nityananda told everybody under Lord Chaitanya's direction. Just go to every house and tell them that. Bhaja Krishna, worship Krishna, Bolo Krishna, chant Krishna, And Koto Krishna Shiksha. Learn from Krishna. Read Bhagavad-Gita. Simple. So Prabhupada got it rolling, and it's it's like a snowball, it gets bigger and bigger coming down the mountain. So the devastating force of the Sankirtan movement is spreading all over the world and picking up even people who are not willing or not interested. You make them interested by caring about them. All right, so I want to thank everybody. And any questions or comments? We have a microphone even. We're prepared. The cold weather bothering anybody? I was talking to Japan the other day and I said, how's the weather? That's the best question to ask. They said, oh, it's getting really hot, it's 27. This morning it was 27 and I was cold. I was thinking, oh, it's cold this morning. It's all relative. Matra sparshas konteya, sitoshna sukadukada, agama payano nityas. It's just a mental concoction. It's all relative to, whether you're feeling pleasure or pain, happiness or distress. Different people get one from this, from the same event. One will love it, one will hate it. Yes, sir.
Alex, you were speaking about washing clothes in Ganges, and this one he did not like. He used to go in the night time.
You just talk slower.
Washing clothes in Ganges, he did not like it going at night.
Yeah.
But the Ganges water is never contributed, then why it was disturbing him?
That's a stupid question, but the Ganges water can't be contaminated, so therefore it's okay to throw your garbage in there, right? That's typical Indian philosophy now. Just put all your sewage in there and all your factory poison and everything. Of course, the Ganges water is still pure, but you have to do a lot of work to get all that other stuff out of the water. The water is pure. But we're not supposed to think that. It's like the temple is pure, Krishna is pure. That doesn't mean you feed the deity just leftovers, your leftovers, and right? Like we feed the cows around. The cow is pure, so it's okay to give them, all your garbage. We got to watch out for this. So, and it's basic rule in Vaishnava culture or Vedic culture. You don't, when you take a bath in the Ganges in the river, you bring the water out and you take your bath outside. Like Japan, right? Japan has these public bathhouses. So they have a hot bath which everyone uses. But before they get in that, they'll take like 3 or 4 showers, soap everywhere, because they don't want to contaminate it. You go to a mosque and they have a foot washing place outside. And I've seen people washing their feet for like 10 minutes and their arms and everything before they go in the mosque. So we have to treat these things nicely, otherwise it's offensive. Ganges, even she didn't want to come to earth for fear of getting contaminated. But then Bhagirata convinced her that the devotees will come also and they'll chant and they'll purify it. So then she agreed to come. So, to actually clean up the Ganges are now the oceans and Jamuna. And Jamuna, they don't even know if it's Jamuna water anymore. They diverted it so many places. So he was that much conscious. And I see now in, like Govindakund, used to be all Gangmuchi and so many people were bathing and washing their clothes, and the last few years they stopped that. Nobody's doing that anymore, and the water is all nice and clean, and they're waking up. And why are they waking up? It's because Sankirtan movement is purifying people. Even in Mayapur at the Chaitanya Mat, they have that Shamakun, Radhakun. And when I first went there, they were washing all the pots in there and all kinds of, there's all the dirt floating all over. In the last quite a few years, they even have signs, don't put anything in here, and they're keeping it very nice. The Prabhupada's influence, making people understand that, you got to treat everybody nicely, especially the holy places. Like Braj, the land is also Krishna. So, you're not supposed to throw your garbage everywhere and cut down all the trees and, it's Krishna. It's not just land, and actually the whole earth, the earth is a devotee and you got to treat her nicely, but what are they doing there? I went when I was a kid I lived in Minnesota, and I went to the town where Bob Dylan was born, and it's called the Iron Range, the iron mines. So in the beginning, they could just scrape the top and get very rich iron. But after a while, they couldn't do that. And they had a hole in the ground then, that was like 60 years ago, that you couldn't, it was like the Grand Canyon. It was so big, and you could see down, you couldn't see the bottom, and you could see, they had these gigantic trucks, and they looked about this big, like toys. And they get a small percentage of iron, and then they just drop bombs in there and blow it all up and dig out another few tons with big scoopers. They're doing that all over the world, cutting down so many forests. It's a terrible offense to the earth, ultimately to Krishna. But what to speak of the Ganga and the Jamuna and the Braj, the holy Dham, right? So, we have to uplift the, you can't just pick up all the trash, they're putting it down so fast. But if we keep spreading the purity, the knowledge of Krishna, and people are chanting, the consciousness will change. That way we can help everybody. Okay?
Just like cows also are taking garbage, when they put their garbage, and some of people, they left over the things they give to cows. In the house something is left, so we give to cow, like this something.
Yeah, I mentioned that, but it's too disgusting to walk around here and see all the cows, and the garbage is all plastic, especially the chip bags. They say no plastic, there's a law, but all the chip bags are plastic, and that's what mostly people are eating. So the cows are just licking, and there's nothing there. We should be feeding the cows, but you can't keep up because they just let their cows out into the street, the bulls, and the consciousness is so low. One of my disciples, she's a Brijvasi, she said she was lamenting to some local people that these cows are just wandering the street. They said, no, those are bulls. No problem. Cows and bulls. Mostly it's bulls out in the street, but I see calves even, So we have to educate people. That's the only help. That's why Prabhupada made temples and distribute books, and kirtan and prasadam, because that uplifts people's consciousness. They try to teach them, but it just doesn't get anywhere. You can manufacture non-plastic bags, right? But they cost more, so the shops, they don't want to use them. I think one kilo is, anyway, they cost more. So in the long run, they a lot of money, until the government manufactures them cheaper, which would be easy to do, but they don't care. They take bribes from the plastic factory. They find cows that look like they're pregnant, and they cut them open, and there's a big, like, plastic inside, like this big. And it's hard, like, like a bicycle tire or something. Can't cut it with a knife, to cut it with a metal cutting saw. So there's an urgency to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So things are happening, the vegetarian movement is growing like anything. Gopal, remember, you joined really early, right? If you're a vegetarian, they thought you're crazy, or it's like suicide, right? Yeah. My mother panicked and when I was vegetarian, and she sent me to the doctor, and then he said, well, you're okay, but you don't eat meat? I said, no. He said, maybe you can live. He was serious. They just trained like that. So they need to get purified, they need to be uplifted. So now many people are feeling compassion for the animals, but they don't know what to do with them. Like these vegans, they talk about not killing, but they also say that having a bull work in the field is cruel. Can't do that either. So what are you going to do with all the bulls? When they don't have an alternative. But that'd take a long time. But we need to show. But also we just have to uplift people, so at least they'll stop eating meat. And it's happening. I saw back in, I can't remember when, at the end of the 70s, something like that, because I was still in America. And one article, the beef industry was panicking in America because beef eating was going down. And they said it's due to rampant vegetarianism. We have to stop this, So they were making advertisements to promote beef, but it didn't work. They made really boring advertisements. So now Krishna is empowering a lot of people, and they're protesting slaughterhouses and all kinds of things. But that won't work. You can't fight such rich, powerful people, but we can uplift everybody by spreading the Sankirtan movement. How many times Prabhupada says that, we can't count. He says it in different ways. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam. All right? Thank you very much. Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Shri Radhe Shyam ki jai.